All right, the Houston Texans have some news going on. They're talking about they're open to the possibility of bringing back a star wide receiver, but they're also talking about is a new stadium coming to town. We're not going to talk about the stadium till the end of the video, but I really kind of got me thinking, if you're in Houston, now my brother-in-law lives in Houston. I'm excited to talk to him about this. What would you like to see? Would you like to see a new stadium? Would you like to see a big remodel to the one you have? Or are you good? Do you feel like, hey, we got a good stadium, let's keep it as is? I would love to know. I haven't been down there. I wanted so desperately to go down there to see the Lions play the Texans last year. And that brings me to the point of, if you are new to this channel, my name is Craig. We are Lions fans, but we've been covering a lot of NFL teams on this channel just because we love teams that get ignored, that don't get the national media that maybe they should. Houston has fallen into that bucket. And so, yeah, you're never going to hear us talk about the Cowboys on this channel. It's all Texans and other teams that kind of fall in a similar realm. But let's first talk about Diggs. Do you want Stefan Diggs back? Like, do you want him back? Remember, he is a player that is coming off of a torn ACL. He's coming off of a torn ACL. He is older, all right? He's 31 years old. And you have to ask yourself the question, how worth it is it? Now, I will say, before tearing his ACL, he was tearing it up. All right? Pun absolutely intended. All right? Nick Caserio had this to say. He said, we have good relationships with Steph and his representation. We enjoyed having Steph in the building, so the door is always open. A number of players have expressed sentiments and interest in potentially returning to our team next season. We never rule anything out, so we're going to be open-minded. Furthermore, your quarterback, the leader of the team, said, hey, that's my boy. I would love to have Steph back. He said, I think we were just getting started. He was having so much fun. Me and him were starting to build a rapport. Remember, the knock on Diggs was always, he's a cancer in the locker room. He's not a good team player, yada, yada, yada. And my response to that was always, he was in Buffalo for like 4 or 5 years. He was in Minnesota for 4 or 5 years. And both of them ended with like the last year or two being like, oh, that's kind of rough. But he's 31. So he's not going to be in Houston for 4 or 5 more years. Enjoy him while you can. Here's the problem. All right. He played on a 1-year contract last year with the Texans. He played on a 1-year contract. It was the Texans and Diggs agreed to void the final 3 years of his deal last April. So he played on a 1-year, $22.52 million contract. So the question is, if you're going to bring him back, you need to have the room. And the Houston Texans don't have a ton of room. They only have $500,000. Like they're 25th in the NFL. Now, with that being said, you have guys like Tunsil, Hunter, Howard, and Collins. You can very easily restructure those 4 contracts and create about $50 million in cap space. Here's what I will say. About the Texans. You want to be careful not to have these contracts go out into C.J. Stroud when you have to pay him coming off his rookie contract. That's most important. Second thing that I will say is that, yeah, like, you don't need the room. Like, you have a talented roster. Use the NFL draft. You need a new offensive coordinator, but you have a ton of talent already on this roster. But the one place I think you need more is wide receiver. Well, guess where's the easiest position to get talent at in the NFL draft? Wide receiver. All right, so yeah, I'm not too terribly worried about it. Offensive line is where I'd be spending more of my time. I wouldn't be working on going there. All right, this is really cool. Texans Wire put together a list because as we were talking about, and I told you I'd talk about it in the back half of this video, NRG Stadium, they're talking about building a new one. They're talking about, at the very least, a heavy remodel. Now, before we get into, I want to talk about other stadiums. How old is NRG compared to other stadiums? And it's not as old as you think. However, the remodel is really old. In other words, they haven't remodeled in a long time. But as you can see here, a spokesperson, and I just said, as you can see here, and then went away, said our priority has been to support a renovation of NRG Stadium, and that's where our focus remains, a spokesperson for the Texans said. All right. As we've said before, we are committed to exploring all potential solutions to ensure long-term success, business speak, thank you. And we look forward to working with the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. Yes. All right. Thank you very much. All right. Things that they use, because you're going to have a lot of rodeos that are at that stadium, and I understand that. And like I said, my brother-in-law lives down there, and he went to one at NRG, and it looked like an absolute blast. So, with all that being said, let's look at what are some of the oldest stadiums in the NFL. Number one is Soldier Field, but it basically became a brand new stadium in 2003. That was a huge renovation, all right? And it looked like a spaceship went and collapsed into it. So, no, nobody's like, this is a great renovation, but it's there, and it's in a really cool spot. Lambeau Field went under a major renovation in 2013. They added all the seating up top. They made new press boxes. It was really nice. All right, Arrowhead Stadium, last renovation, 2010. So do you see what I'm getting at here? Like, you can have old stadiums. Highmark Stadium for the Buffalo Bills, even they had a major renovation in 2013. And by the way, they're expected to open a new stadium in 2026. And I love that Buffalo's like, I don't care what people think. This is an open-air stadium. Just, like, at least make it so that you can close the roof. Like, why not do that? That's all I'm saying. Caesars Superdome. But you have to remember, this year it went under a huge renovation. They are there. Like, Super Bowls will be there. Bowl games like crazy will be there. Hard Rock Stadium, I remember that renovation. $500 million. All right? Well, $500 million. All right, Everbank Stadium. All right? They've never undergone a renovation, but it will undergo a $1.25 billion renovation in 2026, completed by 2028. And by the way, it looks awesome. It looks really, really cool. And they have something going for it, which is it's an open-air stadium in a warm climate. Like, it changes things. Bank of America, all right, they have an expected $800 million renovation to start in the 2026 offseason. So you're getting into all these, and it's like last major renovation for the Commanders was last year, all right? Raymond James Stadium in 2016, M&T Bank Stadium, all right? Nothing. Huntington Bank Field, at least based on this, back in 2015. So all these stadiums, all right, either have one coming. Titans plan to move to a new $2.2 billion stadium in 2027. Like, it's time, y'all. Paycor for the Bengals. Acrisure Stadium for the Steelers did a renovation, but it's a little bit newer. Empower Field went under a big renovation a couple years ago, and then you find yourselves at NRG Stadium. All right? They plan to spend $35 million this offseason to fix the roof, video boards, and sound system. Okay? That's not a huge renovation. Now, here's the question that I have for all of you, and I mean this sincerely. If you've been to the stadium, do you like it? Like, my Michigan Wolverines just won a national championship there a year ago. So I like the stadium, but it's true. Like, when you're there, I mean, there are parts of it that are looking a little tired. The seats are looking a little tired, but I can't speak to it, so I'm going to rely on you. What do you think? I want to at least talk about it. You are in the ballpark where you are needing to do either a major renovation or a new stadium. The question is, are the bones of the stadium good? Can you just give it a big facelift? That's the question I have, because it's a cool-looking stadium. All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.